Hey everybody, and welcome back to Columbia City. So we're here for episode 7. We've got a lot going on today. We're starting off by connecting the freeway that we built through downtown to the freeway network in, for the rest of the map, and removing the freeway that went by downtown but not through it, and it'll end up being a lot more realistic in the end. But yeah, so very rough. We're not going to do too much in terms of detail. I just want to get some cars flowing through downtown from the outside connections, but it's going to be a really long episode. Like, I'm looking at this right now. We're not going to hit 40 minutes, but we're going to be close. And I think the last time we got close to 40 minutes was Aramore, from what I can remember. Like, I don't do episodes that are this long. So I mean, yeah, we'll see. But I think it's going to be great. I've got a lot planned in terms of showing you guys builds. Like, we've got some ridiculously cool stuff today in terms of viewer-created builds, just to break it up as we go forward. But yeah, so right now, though, we are connecting the freeway up. I'm not really basing this off of anything. I'm just trying to get the networks connected up here. So, we do have cars going through downtown later on in the episode, as you'll see, which is great, because before it was like a ghost town, but now we've got some cars flowing through. The outside connections of this map are pretty weird, so there are a lot of roads that go really nowhere, but cars still spawn on them and whatever. I don't know if I could fix that by just deleting certain connections. But for now, I want as many cars as possible flowing through downtown, at least while we don't have too much, domestic traffic. I guess local traffic. This isn't necessarily a country. But yeah, so, okay. This episode, we're going to be sort of expanding the grid network over here. See, I'm trying to figure out what road to use, what road network to use. I end up using the smaller roads with the two-way bike path next to it, simply because I want a bike network going up through here, and Seattle's roads are not that wide. Like, if you actually look at the roads in Seattle, they're pretty narrow because it's a city. It's it's not a massive suburban sprawl like LA. You're not going to have huge avenues like you see here. I'm actually going in and removing some of these big avenues in place of smaller roads, just because it's a lot more realistic. And as a current Southern California resident, slightly reluctant, but I'm not going to complain too much. It's just transit. The transit's so bad. I'm used to really big avenues, but you go to Seattle, very rare. And I'll show you what my plans are for big avenues in the live gameplay a little later, where I'll just show you around what we've built. But it's not too much. I planned 2 big avenues. That's about it. And then the freeway going through downtown. And that's it. Otherwise, we're going to rely on the light rail. But today, one thing we do that's going to be really interesting is we're going to build a BART-style elevated railway for the light rail system, and it's going to be really cool. We're actually going to be taking inspiration from California today, so that might catch you guys a little bit off guard, but Northern California is borderline Pacific Northwest, definitely not really Pacific Northwest, but a lot of the themes carry over, I guess, especially in terms of suburban layouts, suburban densities, types of buildings you'll see in certain areas in Northern California. And the transit is something that I'm going to take inspiration from, at least for this episode with BART, because I wanted to include something reminiscent of BART. But we're going to still have the Seattle Link light rails instead of BART trains. We're not going to have BART trains going through the city. But yeah, the Link light rails end up looking really, really good. You'll see. And I'm so lucky that somebody made those on the workshop, and there's so many different varieties. I used the train converters mod. I forget what it's called specifically, but it allows you to change the type of vehicle that a train or a light rail is. So you can go light rail to train, train to light rail, etc. Or convert to metro overhaul. At least I believe it has that much functionality. I just used it to convert the trains or the trams that were trains in game into trams, because I don't know why they would be uploaded as full-blown trains, but I don't know. Anyway, so okay, I am going through downtown replacing tram networks. It doesn't end up really working out. I do have a couple pretty wide avenues in downtown that I'm a little bit reluctant to keep. We'll see how it goes, but remember, big city, mostly gonna have one-way streets in downtown. But as we've moved out here, the streets are not really one-way anymore. Like once we hit this avenue that you saw a little earlier, the streets are two-way all of a sudden, and I don't know how to transition that specifically, but this is the best I can do. And I mean, two-way streets are what you're going to see out in the suburbs in an area like this. So another thing is these suburban streets are pretty wide, which is very annoying. Like I don't want them to be this wide, but because these are basically like California suburbs from what you're looking at right now in terms of how wide these streets are. But I do add trees on the planters and the sidewalks, which makes them look a lot narrower and a lot more Pacific Northwesty, I guess. So they end up working out, and this hill here ends up being very challenging. You'll see as we work a little later in the episode on a couple different hilly streets, and it's gonna be challenging to work with the suburbs, but I think you guys will like it. I think you'll like the suburbs in general that we're placing. They're the ones from the asset editor that we worked on in the live streams. But yes, this road layout's pretty rough, but I like it. You'll like it from above, I think, as well. And it's not too definitive, let's just say. We'll probably end up shifting off from it. Like Seattle's got grids that go, absolutely everywhere. Just full-on grids once you exit downtown. Like so, the grid shifts, and then it's a well-defined unidirectional grid for a long time throughout the suburbs east of downtown. I don't know if we're gonna do that. I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we're building a much smaller city here, so whatever we do will be on a smaller scale by its nature. I'm loving those Falcon Falls music vibes. This is I used this song a lot in Falcon Falls, which was my first City Skylines series ever, which is pretty cringeworthy going back, but honestly, I will say the Falcon Falls cinematic video was one of my favorite videos I've ever done, just because of the first and last songs, which I'll probably include as nostalgia pieces at some point in this series. Like, I'll just include them as final cinematic songs. Because why not? Who cares? It's been a long time. And, I mean, yeah, that series was awesome. And I remember finishing the entire rural part of the city in literally one episode, because I just wanted to be done, because I was working on it for so long. And I finished the whole map. Like, it was a complete map. Which, I mean, the only cities I've ever done that with were Falcon Falls, Aramore, and Nevada. And New Windsor is obviously not finished. This series obviously isn't finished, and Calaveras Beach obviously isn't finished. The goal is to finish all of them, though, like have a map that is complete. We'll see how far we get though, because it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do that without cheating a little bit by terraforming, stuff into existence that wasn't there before, just to make the map look more realistic with less buildings, etc. We'll see though. I want to go as far as I can with every series, and to sustain that, I got to take a break from certain series. Like I'm not posting Calabria Beach right now, although I do have some stuff planned for that. I'm just really feeling like working on Columbia City right now, so. Yeah, alright, okay, so right now we're working on a high school over here. This is the first school we're placing in the city, first real detail work we're doing in the city other than last episode. And it is, it's going to be really cool. I'm very happy with how this turns out. We end up using a bunch of different assets here. So you saw me place down that football stadium. That's the new King Leno football stadium. I didn't realize how good it was until I placed it down. It's really good. Like, it's way better than anything else I've used on the workshop for its purpose as a high school football field. It's just perfect. It works so well. The grass blends in perfectly. It is what I've been waiting for forever. So thank you to King Leno for that. It's so good. And then the high school we placed was the Classic High School, I think it's called, by False Lucidity. And then this other building is, I think Crystalisto made this, and it's a different high school building. I think it's meant to be a standalone high school, but I decided to use it as like an expansion. The idea is it had an older building, the smaller building, and then it had to expand, so they bought some land and then placed this here. There's a soccer field over there as well, the new King Leno soccer field, which is just as good as the football stadium. I just love the texturing on the football stadium, so it's my personal favorite, but the soccer field is awesome as well. I've been waiting for, fields that really work with good grass textures, and they're just so good. Alright, it's probably a pretty good time to get started with some viewer-created builds. I want to start with this Greece project called Elitos, I believe it's called. Who is this by? This is by Giannis. I hope I pronounced that right. And it's really cool. This is one of the cooler projects that I've showcased just because of how unique it is. It's so hard to do a project like this in City Skylines just because of how limited the asset selection is when it comes to assets for a Mediterranean, or specifically a city set in Greece like this. And my favorite part of this, the houses are awesome, but the cruise ship, the addition of the cruise ship is just amazing. That's really captured well in these screenshots. I love this regional airport here. This is awesome because it doesn't really have any fancy terminal or anything, just a bunch of general aviation stuff all over the place. It's really cool. And the only one thing that I could suggest here is work on the hillsides a little bit. Like maybe try to get some natural resource textures going at least, but maybe some mountain grass and stuff, because it's looking a little bit barren right now. But other than that, I can't complain. This is a really cool project. Awesome job. I can't wait to see more of this. And yeah, this is one of the more unique projects we've showcased. All right, I've got another absolutely spectacular project to show to you guys. So this is a project that is set in Pennsylvania. I forget where specifically. I responded to this DM a long time ago, but these screenshots are amazing. So let's first look at this first shot of the Western Auto building and the church with the new Ronix cube map. So I've tried to use this cube map. I haven't gotten it to work, but I guess it needs to be very dark out for it to work, because wow, that looks amazing. That's like one of the most dramatic shots I've seen. That it works so well. This shot by the river is just amazing. It reminds me of the Hudson River, north of Manhattan, back when I used to live in New York. Really awesome shot there. And yeah, I believe this is, yeah, it's meant to be a very rural project, like no big city or anything. A water tower shot here is pretty cool. I love the use of all the different cube maps in these screenshots as well. It really adds to it. Yeah, all the greenery's obviously amazing. If this is set in Appalachia, it's gonna have a lot of greenery everywhere. So, I mean, yeah, awesome project. I love it. If you guys want to show your projects, in my videos, or if you want me to show your projects in my videos, let me rephrase that, then you can send me an Imgur album. The best place to send it to me would probably be via Twitter, although you could also do it via Steam or Discord or anything like that. I recommend Twitter, though. That's probably the best spot, but yeah, I'll try to showcase your stuff. I'm gonna have to start filtering some stuff out, though, because I get a lot of submissions. And I mean, I'll probably filter out like less modded stuff and stuff that I get fewer screenshots sent to me. So your best chances of getting featured, almost everybody's probably gonna get featured, hopefully. But if try to have a very highly modded project, or at least to a great extent, and then also send me a bunch of screenshots. Just go crazy, because I can pick and choose what to show based on how much time I've got, and it ends up working out in the end. But yeah, thank you guys for your submissions, though, because I've been loving these segments, just seeing what you guys have been doing, because I don't really check Reddit these days, honestly. Like, I haven't been on Reddit in months. Last time I checked Reddit was to check Disgruntled Guy's page, because his page is amazing. But other than that, I have not been on Reddit in a long time. Alright folks, so this is what we are working on now. This is the meat of the episode. We're going to be working on this main commercial street here for this little section of town. It's definitely way outside of downtown, but not extremely far outside. Obviously, we're building a much smaller version of Seattle here, and this is actually not based on anything in the Pacific Northwest. It's actually based on an area in Albany, California. There's actually an Albany, California, not just in Albany, New York, and Albany, California is right next to Berkeley. Going through Albany is the Greenway, which is basically a bike path that is underneath the elevated BART line, and it's really cool. I rode it. I was able to get from downtown Albany to downtown Berkeley in like 10 minutes safely on a trail, and then going through some small neighborhoods as well, but largely on a trail, and it was great. I really wish more areas had stuff like that, and I wanted to build something like that in-game, because I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff with transit in this series, but it's all going to center around light rail. So BART is obviously not a light rail, but I'm using light rail in my city here to sort of illustrate what I like about the Greenway. And I have an elevated light rail line, as you saw before. I'm using the LRT networks from the workshop. They are absolutely amazing. And I'm not going to be using Metro Overhaul Mod in the series, because I want to have one integrated network, no metros, or no Metro Overhaul Mod trains, just light rails instead. And these networks connect all together. I can have underground networks. It's going to be great. So we're going to actually have a subway, but it's going to be a light rail subway, if that makes sense. And it should be really cool. See right here, this neighborhood, I'm starting to actually place some of the houses that we worked on in the asset editor, which I really like them. They're great. They are very forested, you could say. There's a lot of greenery, which is, that was the goal. Pacific Northwest, it sort of gets a lot of rain, so you've got a lot of greenery basically everywhere, and I'm very happy with how those houses turned out. I didn't want anything too FPS heavy. This is about as FPS heavy as I was willing to go. It's mostly trees. They're going to be tolling our FPS here. I'm not going to be placing too many props or anything. And yeah, let's see. So this Main Street area, I'm placing just a variety of different buildings. So the Main Street I'm basing this off of is also in Albany, California. So it's this Main Street that I found. It's got some very weird, grid layouts around it. Like Albany's grids go all over the place. But yeah, this isn't necessarily a main street in Albany, I don't think. It's just a commercial street. And I decided to replicate it here because it's sort of on a hill from what I can tell. And this is definitely on a hill here, very much on a hill. And yeah, I'm having fun working with elevations. Let's just say that. It's not easy, but it's sort of fun. Like somebody commented, Prez says he hates working with elevations. $2.20 says he thinks it's a lot of fun. I also think it's a lot of fun. It's just difficult fun. It's like, you know, riding up a ridiculous hill on my road bike it's a lot of fun. It's also really hard and annoying, but I still do it anyway because I get some, you know, benefit from it. And this I definitely get benefit from. Working with elevations, you know, the final product always looks just great. And the cinematics in this episode are very focused on this specific neighborhood. We don't really do anything else other than the final overview at the end, which I've sort of made a routine part of my cinematic gathering, routine. I just said a routine part of my routine. Could not find another word there. Whatever. Oh yeah, okay, so we've got this this sort of electricity line going through behind the houses and also behind the commercial. It's sort of weird having those commercial buildings like right there, but I cover the back doors and stuff with trees just so it doesn't look weird. But it ends up looking really good in the end, actually. And then, so we placed all these commercial buildings here. I think I'll end up ending the commercial street right here. We'll probably not do any more shops as we go down this coming hill. I gotta figure out whether I'm gonna place a light rail station and just anywhere around here. I think I probably should, but although I might do a larger town further out. And as we go further out, sort of that way, that'll be where the airport is, sort of on that enormous flatlands area. I mean, you'll see the overview at the end of the episode. You might be able to gather, you know, further what I'm talking about. Pretty big map, pretty hard to grasp where everything is, but it is sort of manageable. Like, I think we manage pretty well to like scale things right. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna start working on some vegetation for the Greenway here. So we're placing, I'm placing fences on one side of the Greenway because I'm going to end up, you know, placing a bunch of shrubs below the elevated rail line. And those shrubs are going to be various different things. I place a lot of greenery in this episode. I'm not going to detail as much as I'm detailing in this episode usually, but I wanted to do it here because this is going to be a pretty big focal point. Just the view of the light rail sort of going down the track into the city is a cinematic that once we've got the city, you know, further completed, I think I'm going to be taking that cinematic a lot because it's going to be pretty iconic. Let's just say that. Also iconic will be the monorail in downtown that doesn't actually go anywhere, but we're going to get the line up and running soon. It'll be great. Somebody said that they loved how stupid and touristy it was, and I also love how stupid and touristy it is, because that's the point of the monorail line in downtown. It doesn't actually go anywhere. This light rail line does, though. It'll serve a actual purpose. And another thing we're going to do is we're going to probably end up adding a bunch of bus lines. I want to have a comprehensive bus line system that is at least marginally better than the buses I have to deal with here in Southern California. We're going to try to go for something slightly better. Maybe we could do some dedicated like bus, not just bus lanes. Those are awesome, but like actual off-road bus roads. Why am I forgetting the name of this piece of infrastructure? Whatever. But you get what I mean. And that would be pretty cool. A lot of the time cities will do that because it's pretty low budget compared to putting a whole light rail system in, but it is sort of a band-aid on a much larger problem. but yeah, whatever. So we're gonna place these planter trees throughout the street here, because the street itself does not have planters on the side. I try to place suburban streets with planters on the side for most of the streets, and then we'll end up adding some trees ourselves to them, because I don't have network skins, because it's a laggy mod that you don't actually need, but you think you need. But we do not have it here, so we're gonna have to make do without it. But I mean, just copy pasting the trees is totally fine. It works fine. But what I'm doing here with these houses, so I'll place the houses on a slope like this. It's sometimes hard to get them to work on a slope completely, because the slope's crazy. It's probably like a 20% grade for some of these slopes. But I mean, there's worse in San Francisco, but this is pretty bad in some of these areas. And then I'm just doing, some vegetation detailing around here. This was a pretty fast time lapse, as in, like, I sped it up 700 times, or not 700 times, 7 times, 700%. So it's pretty fast. But I had to do that because I had a lot of footage. Like, I didn't want to cut the footage out here, because there's a lot of footage in this episode, and it's all pretty important. So I didn't want to exclude anything. So here, okay, so you see this here, this slope, it's absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to end up just placing trees basically all over the place here, just to cover up the ridiculousness behind these houses. I should have probably done grids here that were more than 8 blocks in width, but I sort of didn't want to do that, because I want a uniform width for all of the grids throughout the city. Although I should be a little bit flexible, because obviously cities are not totally uniform all of the time. They usually aren't uniform, as a matter of fact. And we're going to end up shifting our grid layout not too far from where we are right now, but the grid layout's going to be a lot more prominent than it is in New Windsor, just because Seattle's got a pretty crazy grid layout. Like, I mean, Seattle's grid layout for its suburbs is what you'd expect of, like, an LA or something like that, and it's very much unbroken for a very long time, and we're gonna go for something like that on a smaller scale, but we're gonna build a lot of suburbs, let's just say that. And I won't have to detail the suburbs, because they're already pre-detailed from the asset editor, so it should be pretty easy. But you see here, I'm adding the trees to the sidewalks, or the sidewalk planters here. I was doing that a little earlier. It makes it a lot more, the streets look a lot more narrow, because they look really wide without trees, which I don't want. I don't want a ridiculously expansive, wide suburban street sort of look. That's an LA thing for the most part, although it's not that far off for some place like Seattle. And I mean, yeah, that's about it. We've done a lot in this time lapse, like a lot. So we're gonna go in game, and I'm gonna unpack what we just built, talk about some plans for the future. So, all right, folks, we're in game, and let's take a look at what we built this episode. Okay, so first of all, what we did is we took this highway here, and it used to go over this way, but I decided to just connect it up with the main freeway going through downtown. Just have one freeway flowing through here, and we'll probably do a parkway. This will turn into a parkway of some sort up that way, and this will be a highway that ends up going sort of out this way, probably to this connection here. But now we have some cars flowing through downtown, not as many as I'd like, but we've got a little traffic here, which is nice. Some of the cars are doing weird diversions though, and then going over here for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, whatever, we'll figure that out. But yeah, so what we did is we connected that up. We've got this bridge over here, which is gonna obviously be worked on more later, and I haven't reversed lines or anything. For now, this is what it sort of looks like, and we'll probably not do some it's on a curve, so we're probably not going to do any fancy suspension of any sort here. It's just going to be some standard bridge like this. I also created a forest brush for the forests, and I mean, this is a let's find a denser area like this. That's sort of what the forests are gonna generally look like, which I like. I think it looks pretty good. It'll obviously be denser in areas we're looking at more often, etc. But yeah, so here we have the financial district, the area we worked on in the last episode, and then over here is the area we worked on today, and we built a lot today. So first of all, let's look at the bike infrastructure around here. So we've got these two one-way roads that have bike lanes that sort of go, they're sort of next to each other, but it's the bike corridor from this avenue over here to this area here. I added a bike corridor down this way as well on the side of this road, and then it sort of disappears here, but then turns off into this greenway, which is a very hilly greenway, I must admit, but it's pretty cool. And I've got a fake line going that doesn't really even go anywhere, just so that we can see the light rails. And wow, look at that. Oh yeah, with the link light rails. A lot are spawning for some reason, I don't know why, but whatever. And then we've got these really hilly houses. As you saw before, they're really weird fences and stuff back here that we just covered up with trees. It's not ideal, and it's going to destroy our FPS, but it looks really good. I mean, you know, this looks awesome. Huge fan. Because remember, this is a pretty hilly city we're working on here, so it's also going to be reflected in the suburbs. So what we did over here, we built a high school, which I have yet to detail this part of it, but we could probably add like some park people generators. I got to decrease my ambient occlusion quickly. Let me do that because it's pretty high. There we go. That's probably much better. I had it on max because I was working on downtown and it looked a lot better like that, but now we're placing a lot of trees and it doesn't look too good once you go above like 3. So let's see. Could we do event generators? No. Do we have PPGs? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I have PPGs downloaded. I will download those though. And then this high school, I'm a huge fan of this. I haven't detailed this area here. I don't know. I'm not sure I should. Like, it looks like okay. It doesn't need to be crazy detailed, and I gotta get into a habit of being okay with not detailing stuff, because this is gonna be a pretty big city. But yeah, we placed King Leno's new football field here, which I just love. I didn't realize how good it was until I placed it in game, and it's so natural here. Although we should probably place a terraforming network right here just to get rid of this gap, and then let's see, nodes, and there we go, and then we'll align it with this building. Apparently not. Oops. Yeah, it selected the building instead. Nice. Nodes. And raise that up. And that should be pretty good. And then I did this little wall thing over here. This is totally whack. Actually, that's so whack I have to fix it right here because it looks really wrong. Let's just add like flowers across the side. That could work. I like to do that instead of placing fences just for prop count. Let's move this and then make that a little denser. There we go. Oh yeah, I forgot to place parking spaces in this parking lot. Let's do that. There's a lot of stuff that I just sort of skipped over. I was trying to get as much done as possible, and I had a lot of inspiration. Obviously, we based a lot of this stuff off of Albany, California, rather than anything in the Pacific Northwest, just because the type of area I wanted to make was very well reflected by a lot of the layouts and stuff in Albany. So we did that, and that's definitely not aligned perfectly. Let's fix that quickly. Sorry, I don't usually do this stuff on camera, but I'm realizing there's a lot of stuff I have to do. And let's add the concrete here. There we go. And then that's probably good enough. It's fine. But these suburbs are just spectacular. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Nobody's gonna care about stuff like that. And all we gotta worry... Oh, that's really bad, actually. Let's try to cover that up. See, I did this episode pretty quickly. So there's a lot of stuff left undone. Like, that's what I just do. Like, it doesn't even matter. There we go. That's pretty cool. So this road, so the way this is going to work, looking at Seattle's road layout, there are a lot of very narrow roads, very few wide roads like this. So I'm trying to keep, you know, the wide roads to a minimum. They still exist, obviously, but I'm trying to maybe have one right there, and then I'll do one over here. But other than that, it's just going to be relatively narrow roads. And we're going to rely on transit a lot instead for transportation. What do we got here? We got the Delta tram. I love it. Yeah, I'm so happy with this. With the trams that I've got here. And then, so this whole commercial street is not detailed too much, but it looks pretty solid. I placed some trees in planters and stuff. That could probably be made into concrete. And then let's change the lighting quickly. And I want to show you one last angle. This right here. I mean, like, look at that. We did a lot this episode because this looks pretty complete. And God, I love this old apartment building. And then these suburb houses that we worked on in the asset editor just came out great. They translate really well into the actual city. And this is exactly what I was going for in terms of the Greenway with the trams up above. Obviously, it's you know, light rails rather than actual subway trains like you've got with BART. But that's, I mean, I'm happy with it anyway. It's the Pacific Northwest take on BART, I guess. But we'll probably just have sections like this every once in a while, and it'll turn into subways at certain points and be on avenues at others. It's going to really depend on where we are, but overall it's going to be a very well connected network, and I can't wait to see how that turns out. But yeah, we've got a lot done today. I'm really happy with our progress. Alright, hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, as usual, make sure to leave a like. Really does help out a ton. You can subscribe if you're new around here, hit the bell icon. You know the deal, you've heard it a million times. If you do want to watch the next video, though, you can do that right now. Just give me $1 on Patreon. It really does help out a ton. You can follow me on Twitter for updates and rants and stuff like that. That's in the description, and same with Instagram, except there I post my best screenshots instead. So yeah, that's about it. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time.